Hey guys, I'm here to show you today how to use Supertrend on the 15, 30, 1 hour, 4 hour, and daily time frame to determine trend, when things are going to bounce, and when to get in, when to get out. So I'm going to start first with IWM. It was one of the biggest plays of the week, and people didn't really understand because Thursday was such a down day why it was such a good buy. Well, here on the 30 minute, you see that even though we gapped up and came down, we only dropped down to the 30-minute time frame here. And one thing I want to make aware of during this video is to show you that whenever a candle does not completely obviously overturn a following candle, that it's a reversal sign. So we've got this green candle here overtaking this red candle, and it's right at support. So even though it didn't reverse then, it obviously reversed the next day pretty hard. So it comes down to the 30 minute, taps it, and the next day gaps up and just drives up to this red line here is the daily time frame. And then the yellow is the 4 hour. And the blue is the 1 hour. So that's the three main time frames that I use. That's why they're highlighted and they have indicators of when to sell, when to buy. These double indicators are to be ignored. It's simply because the indicator is not perfect, but you can see that it's effective when it's above the 1 hour. Here, below the 1 hour, when it gets close, I don't have it on the right sensitivity, but got close and dropped down. Comes back up, drops down, kind of chops up here. Between the 30 minute and the 1 hour, gaps up. We're in uptrend now, gets above the 4 hour, and then once we close above a super trend, there's often a time where we retest another time frame. So even though we're above the daily here, we might see a big drop down to the 4 hour whenever it gets up to here to retest and then bounce higher. That's just how it kind of works. With QQQ, it was a good play on Friday to short because we came right up to the 1 hour here and we printed this reversal candle. Again, it overtook it. This big drop down line here, it's not exactly a reversal candle. That's why we made the bear flag, but it doesn't, this is more of a reversal candle, but even then it doesn't drop below support ever, but eventually it does come down. So right up to the 1 hour, after dropping below it, it's a good indicator that's going to drop down. But this caught itself on its 15 minute, came up to it, retest the 15 minute, and pumped the rest of the day, 475 to 480. The idea with Supertrend is to keep it simple. Don't go using the 5 and 10. You can look at the 5 and 10 minute, but it just gets really choppy. You'll see here it's up, it's down, it's not really very effective. Yes, it goes up and taps directly here. It's more so often to determine the trend of things on the lower scale. Like when it's a good time to re-short. We're below the 1 hour. Where are we retesting? The 5 minute. When is it a good time to buy again? Down here at the 4 hour. This is Microsoft, obviously, and it came down. This is around when I said to long at 1250, and it tapped that 4 hour after testing the daily. Tested the daily a few times up here, made some reversal signs, back to the 4 hour. Starbucks is one of those longs I was calling this week. It was good for the 1 hour, directly tapping it, double bottoming right here. Good pop, drop, continues to drop until it prints this reversal pattern here. The green candle that overtakes the whole red candle but does not go excessive about it. Once we did that, that is when we long. You can see the trend line here. They closed above it. It was a good long for Friday. Coin, everyone's favorite Bitcoin like stock. It was below the 1 hour, it was above the 1 hour. So this was kind of a fake breakdown. And that's why we got that 7% day on Friday. Came down and retested the 30 minute on Thursday. Popped. Didn't print a reversal ever. I mean, it did here kinda, but not down here. Sometimes it's just a risk you gotta take. NVIDIA. This is one that used a different time frame, which again, it's okay to use different time frames, but they're not always that powerful. You know, the 2 hour here looked like it was going to drop because it directly tapped, but then it gaps up above it and goes back in uptrend because we're above the 1 hour, the most important one. But NVIDIA dropped down that 2 hour and gapped up and went. I think it came down and tested, yes, the 5 minute. Again, so we're above the 1 hour. When do we buy the gap up? When we tap a lower time frame, 5 minute. Came down here, double bottom, and then it just ran. McDonald's has been one of my favorites since before earnings, because down here on the daily, it didn't quite touch it, but it printed this big green engulfing candle from the gap down. You know, it went from 253 down to 246 overnight, but then it ran hard, came back above the 4 hour, and then the next day above the 1 hour. Yeah, right here. Okay. Yeah, so Wednesday it wasn't above the 1 hour. It came right up to it at the end of the day and sat, but then it did close above it, retested that 4 hour, and then finally pops on earnings. And it kept running all the way up until the weekly. Whenever I have a buffer on like one of these blue, yellow, red time frames, I had an indicator here saying to sell. It's like 0.5%. It's nothing big, but it knows when to tell me it's time to short. So it came down here, and this is just a chop zone. It's not even a big short, but from 276 down to 268 is still good money. But you get your trend line going, gets back above the 1 hour, and it just runs again. It ran on Thursday, Friday, and then gapped up Monday. It was just gone because it got this consolidation week here, came back up, retested it, it tapped it and closed just below it, so it didn't exactly reverse down. It held right above, or right below resistance, and then just gap up and go. And every time, you know, you can get down to the lower time frame. Every time it gets close to some support, it's back up. And you go to lower time frames, hits support, goes back up, hits resistance, comes back down. On these lower time frames, it's like a chop zone. I don't know if there's any IWM. That was a really big one for Friday. Again, on August 5th, so many stocks bottomed. And the one thing I saw with a lot of stocks was that they got very close to their weekly time frame. Everyone wanted more blood, even I did, but this was obvious. Once we got to this and we printed this on the weekly, it was time to go up. You're back above the important time frames after that week. See, August 5th. Well, we were right there. So 1 hour. It didn't have me convinced until the following week when we did finally get above that 1 hour. That's when I knew stocks were not going back down. There was no pullback. It was just dips to buy. Down to the 1 hour, back up. And then we go to our lower time frame. Once we're coming down on Thursday from some bad news, again, 30-minute downtrend line, gapped up and just went. So that is my review. The most important time frames to use again are 15, 30, 1 hour, 4 hour, and daily. The 15 and 30 are for good areas to buy the dip or sell the rip. And then the 1 hour, 4 hour daily are for determining trend. And also very good places, as we saw in Microsoft, the 4 hour taps directly, rips. The daily, it's got the indicators getting close to it, very close, drops. Even when coin was back in the initial drop of Bitcoin, we had this little run up, and that was the weekend, I believe. This is July 4th. So for some reason Bitcoin dropped hard, it gapped down, but it tapped directly on that line, so it was a big run up, chop all week, and then Trump gets shot this weekend, so we gap up, and it's just up until we hit not sure, just a double top kind of thing. Sometimes it can't be explained through the Supertrend, but once we get below the 1 hour here, you see it's down below here, gap down, runs back up to it, and it's still downtrend until we're over the 1 hour. Then you buy every dip. So if you have any questions, please feel free to ask. This indicator has been life-changing, and it's very good for determining when to buy and sell.